everybody, is Nibs here, also known as Norman. This time we're going to take a look at not Asvine's first of 2025 and latest pen, which is here somewhere. Oh yeah. Which was the wood-stabilized C2000, and I'll link to the recent video about that in the description. But we're going to go one model back, which is the Asvine all metal, and in this case titanium. What the hell was the name of this? It's hard, after all these years, J16. After 25 years and thousands of pen models, it's hard to keep track of numbers sometimes. This is the J16 titanium, and as you can see, it takes design cues from Mont Blanc, as hundreds of pens do. Sort of the 146 in appearance and size, although this is a bit longer than the Mont Blanc 146 and is not as girthy as the 149, but actually a little bit longer than the 149 as well, which I had not realized until I just did that. So let's take a look in some more detail of Asvine's J16 brushed titanium pen. Let's open our little notebook here, where I've made some notes. Appropriate to put some notes in a notebook. And there is the J16. So it's a brushed titanium piston filler. Overall, it's the look of the Mont Blanc 146 Grande, but larger and longer, and of course it's not made from precious resin, as this 149 that I showed you briefly is, and I'm really surprised that it's longer than the 149, not as girthy. The section, jumping ahead a bit, is the Mont Blanc style of section. Tapers down slightly to this finger stop, but this section, as you can see, is not as girthy, but slightly longer than the 149's section. Now that's in distinction to some recent Monteverdi, boy, I'm dating myself there. Some recent Asvine models that employ more of a slightly concave section. If you take a look at my last video where I take a look at this C2000 wooden pen, I found this to be quite slippery, the section, and you would think that would carry over naturally to an all-metal pen, but the titanium seems to be slightly textured, and there's no problem whatsoever with the grip of this pen. It's not too slick, not too slippery, fine for writing. So I was happy to see that. The chrome accents of the clip, the cap band, which says Asvine in the front, and J16 in the back, as well as the piston ring at the piston knob. This chrome accent is very attractive against the brushed titanium of the rest of the pen. It's a little bit light color to call gunmetal, but I'm going to call it gunmetal, so this would be perfect for James Bond. And I won't tell you my license to kill number because it's a secret. But 007, I know from personal experience, would really enjoy this pen as well. My particular pen, people like to know how many turns these days to uncap or decap. I like that term better. Decap a pen. Mine is 1 3/4. But since this has been out for a couple of months or longer, I've taken a look at some other YouTube videos, and it seems everybody's cap decaps at a slightly different rate. So your personal experience with this model will probably vary. Asvine has been using titanium pretty regularly now on models. We have the V200, which was a big hit last year. From Asvine's nomenclature, V stands for vac fill, and this has very little ink in it. This has Schaefer King's Gold, and this particular pen and nib and feed never liked the King's Gold. So other inks have worked fine in this pen. So here you have titanium highlights, basically. The top of the cap, the clip, the barrel ring, or actually it's a cap ring, protecting the bottom of the acrylic cap. The section is titanium, as well as the vac knob at the rear. And you also had the P36 cigar-shaped piston filler, P for piston, and brushed clip, titanium at the finial, the rounded finial, and the bottom of the barrel, and the cap band, as well as the concave section. Very, very comfortable. So my personal preference, and this means nothing beyond me, is I really like this melding of the titanium and the acrylics, and especially these demonstrators. And I love how those two materials go together. The all titanium J16 is not my particular cup of tea, to coin a term. You've probably never heard of that term before. But many people have fallen in love with this model. All titanium with the chrome accents. So, as they say, to each his own. Another saying that was original to me, and you can borrow, as long as you give me credit in the future. So, my particular pen, and the reason it's J is because it's using JOWO, or JOWO nib from Germany in this particular model. And it's, except for the slight ink stain, is a very plain nib, except for the B on the side. And I'll review what I'm videotaping now to see if I need to give you a close-up. I don't really think I do. I think you can see that B and the plain design of this particular Yovo nib. I would prefer, if Asvine continues to employ Yovo nibs on some of their future models, that they have their own design and imprint on these nibs. But that's just, again, a personal preference. Has an ink window. Not going to demonstrate that to any great extent because it's filled with ink. And a very, very smooth piston fill. Takes about 1.5 milliliters of ink, so it's a decent capacity. What else? Someone criticized me for not writing live in my last video. Having done many videos, I'd like to vary things from time to time, but for that one person who made a comment, I will now take live pen to paper. And the Yovo is fine. Well, not actually, it's a broad. But it's a fine, smooth nib. But personally, I don't find it superior to the nibs that Asvine has been producing for years now. So if you have a choice between a stock Asvine nib or a replacement Yovo nib, to me, I don't need to spend the extra money for a Yovo nib because I don't find really a difference in smoothness or writing characteristics or any of those things. The reason I was interested to get the J16 with the Yovo nib eventually was because it's a broad, and Asvine does not offer a broad at this point. Although, as you'll recall from my last video, I worked with Asvine to introduce their first stub, and that's on a number 8 nib. This is a number 6 nib. So you can switch nibs to your heart's content. I may end up putting, for decorative purposes and appeal of appearance, I may end up putting an Asvine number 6 nib in here eventually. But for now, I'm enjoying the broad nib. Let me just pull out those 2 partial titanium Asvine pens that I showed a moment ago. These are both Asvine medium nibs. However, there's a fair amount of difference between the 2 of them because the other P36 nib is also a medium. It really comes down to the ink. But they will look or produce fairly different lines. And of course, it's a little hard to tell because I'm using different color inks, but trust me on this one. The P36 nib lays down a broader line than the one that I have in the V200, but only because of the ink I'm using. I found Asvine nibs to be incredibly consistent, pen to pen, and the similar size, in this case, both mediums. So this is just a reminder that ink can have a tremendous difference in flow and interaction with a feed and a nib, and that's certainly the case with this Schaefer's Gold that, for whatever reason, doesn't like Asvine. And again, a slight comparison here. So this is the Yovo broad. And it's slightly broader than the Asvine medium. It's not an incredible difference. So I just wanted to do a quick look at this J16. Again, this all brushed titanium with chrome accents is very attractive, and it's going to appeal and has appealed over the last number of months to an incredible number of pen enthusiasts. And again, it's a really high quality fountain pen from Asvine at a very reasonable price. And since this video is going to be up until the end of time on YouTube, I'm not gonna mention a price offhand because I haven't even looked it up. I was gifted this from Britnum of Asvine Pens. So a little bit of research will give you that answer. I'm going to link to the pen in the description on Asvine's site on Amazon. So if you're interested in seeing more photographs or learning more about dimensions and so forth, which they all list there, you can do that there, as well as pricing and place an order if you're interested. So thanks for watching this, for me, fairly brief video, and see you next time.